Hi all, Hal here with more Empyrion, Galactic Survival. And today what we're going to be doing is what I said Monday. We're going to do a little bit of a ship review. And I've got not one, but 3 ships, all made by Vexray, is the original creator of all the ships you're about to see. We do have one, the first one we're going to be looking at is his X7 Protoss. The first one we're going to be looking at is actually a reskin that was done by Garo Nava. I apologize if I'm destroying the pronunciation of your name, but there will be links to these in the description below. I've actually started a collection for any ships that you see reviewed throughout the series. So as I've said previously, if there's things that you would like to see highlighted, let me know and we'll see about getting them in here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the X7. So one of the things that I had been talking about on Monday was actually the structural integrity and the way that it does not apply to ships currently. And as you can see, Vexray did a really good job of exploiting this. This is something that he actually posted, or they posted to the workshop, I don't know, probably about a week ago. This is one of the first ones that are using this type of design methodology. As you can see, everything is basically hidden behind the blocks, so there's very little exposed for combat purposes, which is actually pretty nice. And this is part of a complete product line for what they're calling the Lorien Federation, and it's being deployed in their fight against the Scarab Empire. So, for the folks that are into the RP side of things, there is actually a story button that goes along with this ship. From a design perspective, as you can see here, it does have 6 of the plasma cannons for the SV. Very interesting choice in weapon armament because of the fact that I personally think that the shots are a little slow on them, but it's a huge amount of very destructive firepower. So if you're able to actually land your shots on target, you're going to be creating a world of hurt for whoever's on the receiving end of this thing. So looking at the functionality of the ship, what you're not seeing is you do have the small crafting station here, which is nice because you do have external access to this on the ship, but everything else is internal. There are generators, there's fuel tanks, there's ammo, all of it is behind the blocks and the block faces like the panels here. So in order to access anything, or to access the majority of the boxes and storage in the game, or in the ship, you need to go into the cockpit and open up your panel. So when you're here in the panel, as you can see, I've already expanded down the fuel tanks. Vexray did a really good job on organizing everything. Everything you really need to find is right here, and it's clearly labeled, telling you what it is. You can't rename the individual boxes, unfortunately. That is something that, as a feature, I would like to see added to Empyrion, but I'm not sure we're ever going to see that, at least not anytime in the near future. So if you wanted to access something like the ammo box, cargo box, fuel tanks, anything like that, when you select the individual unit, you come over here to access, and it'll open up your inventory. And you can just, as normal, you can drag and drop, you can shift click, goes right in there. Alright? So, how does it handle? Not too bad, actually. Let's take a look here. We'll go third person. So it is a very nice design. I really, really like this build. I think the aesthetics that they chose for the recoloring are awesome, but the original is actually, I think just fine. So as you can see, we do have a fairly responsive ship, and I mean, it flies pretty standard. Let's see, our stopping power is a little weak on the stopping power. It looks like they're probably using just a couple of maneuvering jets to counter the main thrusters, but that's nothing too uncommon. I myself do that as well, so I don't find a problem with it, but it is very responsive ship. I don't have any ammo in it, so you're not going to get the actual weapons, but that's okay. Okay, so So overall, I have to say, very well done. I really like this build, and this is something that I might even use in some of my own gameplay off camera. But yeah, I'm really liking this ship. Woohoo! Beautiful flight dynamics and characteristics, man. Really well done. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to do a quick pause right here, and we will come back and take a look at the next ship in the lineup. And we're back. So next up for the Vexray's lineup is going to be the X8 Dais. Also the Deuce, depending on where you may be from and how you want to pronounce it. So as you can see, this one is a completely non-centralized build design. We've actually got two of the elongated cockpits, and the right and left halves are basically a symmetrical mirroring of each other. The vehicle does have 4 of the railguns on it. For its general equipment, it's got 2 constructors, 4 cargo boxes, 2 fridges, 2 ammo boxes, as well as 2 O2 stations. So they actually did duplicate everything between the 2 ships. Again, a very nice design. I do like the recurring theme in their design choice. A lot of angular edges. I believe that the leading edges on all of the faces are actually a slightly more durable block. And what they are doing is they're basically trying to shield the underlying and secondary blocks by using the heavier blocks on the exterior trim. As you can see, we've got a couple of main thrusters here. And just to show that, yes, there really is no connection between the two. Alright, so let's take a look inside here. Let's bring up the control panel really quickly. So first off, let's look at the flight characteristics of this thing. So you're looking at a fairly small ship. I mean, we're only at 9 by 10 by 3 and 512 blocks. So that's actually pretty good for the size of the ship. 18.8 tons, 2 generators. Sitting idle is using very little power. It's got a lot of fuel in there, and it's, you know, with just spawning it in, the default power gives you a little over 6 minutes left, so it's probably been sitting here for, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes at this point. Obviously no warp drive because it's not a CV. It does have the 2 oxygen stations as we mentioned earlier, 6 complete cargo boxes, 2 of which are ammo, 2 are fuel, and 2 oxygen tanks. 8 RCS units and 42 thrusters on this thing. Very, very impressive schematics and specifications built out on this particular ship. And then as you can see here, we do have a lot more in the way of material groupings. But again, Vexray did a really good job on making sure all of the items that you needed to find were completely grouped together and readily available. So we go here. So the one thing I'm curious about is the O2 station. Now I'm not seeing a way to actually use these because I would have expected the station to actually be visible somewhere. So maybe I am just missing it. If anybody knows for sure where it is in here, let me know. But yeah, I'm definitely not seeing it, which makes it really difficult if you're trying to actually use the oxygen generator on planets. But it is nice that it's there, so I'm not going to complain about it. I have a feeling that once you know where it's at, it becomes painfully obvious where it is. I am just not seeing it. So, but I'm also known to be blind as a bat, so... Oh, but it is a very nice build. I'm really liking this thing. Let's take it out and see how she handles. Much zippier. Obviously, we don't have ammo loaded again. Nice turning and roll radiuses. Alright, so how does she stop is the question. slowly. Okay, so Vexray is basically using the same system of flight, or the same flight mechanics that I personally enjoy, which is a more of a actual plane design. So you're slower to decelerate, but you do get that nice handling from this. And with all those RCS units in here, as you can see, it is a very responsive design again. So another nice build from Vexray. Thank you, sir, for sir or ma'am, for creating this. It is a very nicely well done build. Alright, so let's go ahead and land this beast. Now, the one thing that I do wonder about is the with the offset cockpit. It is going to take some getting used to for a lot of pilots, because you're used to being, most of the builds that you'll see, folks tend to keep the build centerlined, or the cockpit centerlined, so that you don't have to really think about where you're pointing and what your clearances are on either side. With a design like this, you do have to think about that a little bit more, so that is something to keep in mind. But again, you have very heavy weapons, a decent amount of armor, and an amazing handling profile. So I think all of that comes together to make a really nicely put together ship. And overall, I really like the design aesthetic. So, color choices, that's up to them, but I think it works. I do think it works. I think it works really well for this particular ship. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do another cut, and I will bring you back for the third and final ship in this highlight and preview, or I should say review, I guess, at this point, huh? And yeah, we'll be right back. And welcome back, and I would like to introduce you to the X9 Nova mid-class fighter, again by Vexray. As you can see, the continuation of that design aesthetic. This is a ship that is built more for a combat role. It's much heavier. It's a much heavier ship with a much more of a combat aspect to it. It's kind of more of a slug out type of vehicle. Again, we're seeing the railguns. Looks like we've got an internal cargo area in the back there when we were walking around. And we do have, once again, the floating winglets, or I should say nacelles, and a much larger engine and thruster configuration. So first off, let's take a look back here in the cockpit. I know I normally want to do a fly around on these things, but I'm really curious because he's using the new flight, or the new combat fighter cockpit. Oh, very nice. Nice design choice here. Okay, so in this one you can get to the O2 stations, which is good. I'm seeing a lot of cargo here. Small constructor. The hidden engines, which is always nice to see. That does keep your lines nice and clean. One of the things that I know a couple of people do is they'll do this so that the exterior facing blocks actually end up with more hit points and armor. So it is definitely something you should be able to get away with. And you have the, let's bring up our interface here. Oop, there we go. So yes, you can actually get to the O2 station from here, which is good. Very well thought out, very well designed. I do like, well, if anybody's seen any of my builds, you know I tend to do a lot of these little small compartments myself. So I obviously have a soft spot in my heart for them. So, but yeah, this is the X9. Really beautiful ship. I do like the little bit of the fin here. It's a very retro feel to the, like throwing back to some of the 50s and 60s sci-fi. Really well done. Very nice choice on the textures for the winglet ends here. I do like the use of that texture there. Now I'm kind of surprised that texture compressed down like that. Oh, you know what? I know it. I know how they did that. Very well done. Very, very well done. So basically, the one of the textures that they're using, it ends up cutting off the majority of the texture, and that worked out really well in that case. So again, Vexray, very well done. Love the builds. Keep them coming, please. Such a great build on this. And I'm just kind of curious to see what we're looking at here for overall utility. So we have 2 cargo boxes. Well, we have 2 ammo boxes, 6 cargo boxes. Cockpit constructor, 4 fuel tanks, 2 generators. A single O2 station with 2 O2 tanks, which we should be able to access from inside the cockpit. Yes, we can. 12 RCS units, mainly because, again, this is a 24-ton versus the last ship, which was the X8, which came in, I believe, at 18.8 tons. So it's not that much of a different change or a change in mass for the functionality. But the X8 also has a little bit more in the way of equipment on it, so it's probably the trade-off there. 46 thrusters on this and the 4 weapons, all 4 railguns once again. So yeah, no, I really appreciate and enjoying the design, the continuation of that design aesthetic, and the overall ship design itself is really well done. So let's take a look here. We'll just do a quick ship pan. Give you an idea of what it looks like when you are sitting in it. And what we're going to do now is let's go ahead and give her the flight test. Fairly responsive for a ship of this weight. You're not over that 25-ton area yet, so you kind of expect it to be a little bit more responsive, but you can definitely feel that she drifts a bit more. So lots of rear-facing thrusters, main propulsion systems. Feels like a little bit lighter than average on the retrograde thrusters. You know, when we're talking about braking thrust, as well as the lateral translations. So a little bit slow on the uptake on lateral. So yes, this is more of a slugging ship. Looking at the overall design, I think you would be okay to take a couple of direct hits, but it's definitely not something you would want to make a habit out of. Enough mobility that you're going to be able to avoid a lot of the incoming fire, especially from anything on the PvE side. The AI turrets, once you know the way that they fire and track, should be fairly survivable. Now, one of the things I did not mention was that Vexray has built all of these ships to be viable and completely workable outside of creative mode. They are all survival ready, and should work really well for you over the course of your game. So, like I said, I do like the design choices. I like the balancing of the ship. The overall feel of the ship is very substantial, and I'm very happy to see that. So on that note, I am going to go ahead and take off. Again, if you want to see any of the ships or would like to have direct access to them, I will have a link for the collection for this series, as well as the individual ships, in the description below this video. Again, well done to the original creator, Vexray. If you haven't done so already, or you haven't seen them around, definitely pay them a stop on the Steam Workshop, because they definitely deserve a nice kudos and props. Anyway, I'm out of here. If you enjoyed this, make sure you hit the like button. If you want to see more, let me know down in the description below, or in the the conversation area down below the description of the video. And if you haven't done so already, I do ask you to consider to just subscribe. Words are not working today for me. Not only do the likes and subscriptions help the channel to grow, but they let me know that you're enjoying the content, and I want to make more of the content you enjoy. So make sure you are hitting those buttons. It's always appreciated, and I just want to say thank you again for stopping in today. I hope you had fun, and I hope you have a terrific Wednesday. As always, folks, take care and be safe out there, everybody. Now to go blow some stuff up. Mwahaha. Oh. do. Come on, there we go. Oh. Ah. Oh, it's not in my ammo. Oh well. I guess I'll just go